The same applies at the club level. Most elite academies sort players based on early performance, and almost all of them are, knowingly or not, reinforcing the relative age effect, a systemic bias where players born earlier in the selection year are bigger, faster, more coordinated, and therefore more likely to be identified as elite. These players are then streamed onto the top teams, where their perceived advantage is compounded by better coaching, stiffer competition, and social confidence. Meanwhile, equally talented but later born players are dropped down to lower teams. They train in the shadows, but they also have to grind. They learn to fight for minutes, to lead weaker sides, to persist in environments where failure isn't fatal, but formational. And over time, something happens. First, very talented players, later born, drop out of frustration, but that's another book. And then the player on the D team, overlooked at 12, becomes the one who makes it at 18. Why? Because their environment required internal adaptation. The outcome was not engineered, it was earned. They weren't just trained, they were tempered. Not all advantages are truly advantages, and not all disadvantages are to be removed. Sometimes the very thing that looks like a delay is what forges resilience, grit, and perceptual awareness that no polished academy or parent-funded advantage can replicate. The game is outcome determinative, not by results, but by how it tests the internal software. And that test often requires friction, failure, and asymmetry. You see this most clearly when you leave the engineered training grounds and watch how the game is played everywhere else in the world. In Africa, most kids don't grow up with manicured pitches. They play on concrete, in cages, on dirt patches, basketball courts, dusty schoolyards, or a five-side street corner, where goals are made from cinder blocks and there are no coaches, no cones, no substitutions. There's one ball, no shin guards, no bibs, no whistle, no referee. You learn the rules by breaking them. You learn the social baseline by feeling the hierarchy. Who calls for the ball? Who hides? Who fights? Who doesn't? You learn not to get hurt, not by fear, but by awareness, by spacing, by timing, by knowing exactly how hard you can go and still walk away. This is in C by necessity. You're not playing the game, you're surviving the game. Every move has consequence. Every pass is part of a micro-society. You learn not just touch, but tone, how to read anger, confidence, intimidation, silence. You learn to demand the ball, not because you're open, but because you know what to do with it before anyone else does. You become emotionally fast, psychometrically tuned, spatially fluent, not because you were taught, but because you had to learn or be forgotten. And what you carry out of those cages is something that most academy players never quite replicate: an internal map of stress and response, a compass for the rhythm of danger, a tolerance for chaos, and most of all, the belief that pressure is not a threat, it is a signal. It is the moment to become more aware, not less, to listen, not to hide, to move when no one else does. That's what a constructive disadvantage gives you: the conditions to develop systems-level intelligence, not just positional awareness. It teaches you to play the game not from construction, but from interpretation. It teaches you to read the emotion of the moment, because emotion is all there is when the only thing between you and the wall is an outstretched leg, or a scuffed ball, or a mistake you can't undo. So the next time we think about how to build great players or great humans, we must ask not what we can give them, but what we can remove or disrupt or leave unfinished. We might remember that sometimes the players we're trying to protect are the ones most in need of pressure, and the ones we overlook are the ones already learning what no curriculum can teach. They are building in C without knowing it, and one day when the game opens, they'll already be there. In New York City, this tension plays out in full view, though few are really watching. If you go to Pier 40, the world-famous soccer complex jutting out into the Hudson River, you'll see the official version of the game running under the lights. There on the vast artificial turf fields, built atop a repurposed parking lot pier, the structured game unfolds. Elite club academies running drills, private training sessions, scrimmages and youth leagues, all neatly scheduled, supervised, and sanctioned by permits. These groups hold the keys to the field, quite literally. They have the time slots, they have the resources, they have the lights. But in the shadows of that complex, something else is happening, something far less visible and far more alive. Around the edges of the mezzanine, tucked into the unlit corners between parking lots and fencing, the immigrant kids gather. They play while they wait, or they wait while they watch. They hover for open slots, or for a permit group to cancel. And when the opening comes, they move fast. They claim a sliver of turf, call in their teams, and launch into 10-minute games. Winner stays. 2 goals, no warm-up, no coach, King of the Hill, Global Edition. The game has no banner, but everyone knows the rules. No referee, but every foul gets settled. No uniforms, but the teams often line up ethnically. A group of Senegalese boys against a group of Brazilians, or a Haitian crew taking on French-speaking North Africans, Italian Americans clashing with Ghanaians or Mexicans or Bosnians. Each group carries its style, its rhythm, its sense of how football should be played. Each brings a worldwide view into the space. These aren't matches. They're style collisions, cultural clashes, microcosms of the global game played under the fading spill of someone else's floodlight. And the irony and the absurdity is that these matches, chaotic and beautiful, and ruthless and honest, dwarf the organized soccer happening 50 yards away. The ball moves faster, the decisions are more reactive, the confidence is earned, and the emotional intelligence and the ability to read tempo, threat, mood, and status is exponential. In that backlot football, In-C is alive in every moment. It's how you stay on the field. It's how you earn the ball. It's how you command or pass or disappear. And yet these players, some of the most instinctive, fluid, and resilient athletes you'll ever see, are offered the crumbs. The soccer world asks, why doesn't America have a street game? While the street game is playing out right in front of them. Shoved into the back corners, unrecognized and unresourced. It's not a lack of talent, it's a lack of visibility. Because the systems of advantage that run American soccer are not built to see what doesn't come through the front door. Once a single cage of the courts in Harrison, New Jersey, produced over 30% of the U.S. men's national team roster. That wasn't an academy, it wasn't a developmental pipeline. It was a steel gate, a concrete floor, and a community of young men playing until the lights went off. They didn't need cones, they needed space, they needed freedom. And what they produced wasn't just skill, it was field intelligence, born from environmental constraint. And what the structured world calls disadvantage is often the forge, the crucible, the moment when a player learns not just how to play, but how to see the game in an unfolding map of motion, risk, rhythm, and survival. Pier 40 proves this. The floodlights illuminate the structure, but the shadows are where the game is actually being played.